Okay, so I'm not going to take the place of Stavros. I can't, even if I would like to. But I would like to say a few things. This is something we're trying for the first time. Probably if you have been in Voxxed Days previously, we didn't have any panel session discussion. First of all, I would like to thank all the speakers, participants. Okay, the format is we're going to ask the same question to all speakers. The topic is about the pandemic and how the overall thing changed how IT works. And then we will have enough time so you can ask questions either to all the participants or to a specific one. Stavros will do the introduction, the presentation, and I would like to say those two things just to let you know about the format, how it will run, okay? So, Stavros.
Thank you, Patroklos. Thank you very much. It's interesting to run a new experiment at these events. So it's wonderful to have you here, our fellow speakers, fellow guests. Let me then introduce you one by one. Just raise your hand and give your microphone. Okay, how about that? I have two, so I'll share two microphones. Mr. Pandelis Apostolidis, Cloud Security Solution Architect at Microsoft. That's this gentleman here. Let me give you your microphone, sir. Let's go with Mrs. Maria Bernardi, Technology Delivery Lead Associate Director at Accenture. I'll in a sec. I'll have microphone in a sec. Right. That's not going to work, right? Ms. Martina Castori is Software Metrics Analyst and KPI Specialist at Netcompany Intrasoft. Mr. Arilis Mokios, there you are, CEO at Kivos. And Mr. Russo Ricardo, Consulting Partner at Deloitte. That's you, sir. All right, let me hand the microphone. How do we begin? What are we talking about? What are we talking about? What is the subject of our panel? Let me give you a microphone. You can start.
Okay. Thank you. So I think this, the post-COVID era, right, and how it actually impacted the whole industry. I mean, probably you're talking about the IT part. So I think should we go around the questions? We have those three questions.
I don't have any questions, I'm afraid.
Okay,
Or am I just taking questions from the crowd?
No, we have three questions already.
Go ahead.
Okay, and I don't know, should we go, one by one?
We can go one by one.
Okay.
We can go one by one.
I think, so the first question, if I remember correctly.
Okay, so the first question was, what was the main challenge we faced during the pandemic and the lockdowns, and how we managed to cope with it? Should I start? Okay, thanks. So I think that our everyday life was disrupted in a very sudden way, and this also affected our business life. It was not easy for us to meet with our colleagues. It was difficult to cooperate with them. We could only do that using virtual calls. And the most challenging thing for me was to try and keep the team united and motivated, and at the same time to maintain the business continuity, because that's what's important for the client. So I took the initiative to organize a few virtual calls, but not for work-related issues, almost for fun issues, try to simulate the coffee breaks and the lunch break that we have when we were at the office, in order to empower the team and to, speed the morale of the team. It was very important during the lockdowns to ensure that no one would feel alone or neglected. That's my personal experience, at least. So,
I think maybe the lady next to you.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you for this invitation. It's a great event. Thank you for having us here. I am from Accenture. Actually, all this new way of working for Accenture was not something new, because we had this virtual way of working with the tools, the processes. It was something for us that it was part of our day-to-day activities, because we have calls with our colleagues. We're one global company, so we had calls with US, Asia, Europe. Nevertheless, it's a fact that coronavirus was a tragic, a human tragic situation that affected all of the people and impacted them and changed the way of their lives, the jobs, and they had to, to adapt on this new way of working and living. So we could see also this kind of approach in our clients, that they were not so familiar with the virtual way of working, plus to our people. Because it's not only, the productivity, but it's also about the mental health, and also providing all the required, let's say, tools for them to feel safe and secure. Accenture, similar case like before mentioned, we did a lot of virtual events in order to support our colleagues. That was pleasure, like concerts, coffee breaks virtually. That not only was limited to Accenture employees, but also we try to be connected in this kind of way with our clients. So we brought our clients inside this kind of events. At the same time, Accenture also before COVID, before the pandemic period, we had a program for assisting our employees, healthcare and mental health. So it was something that during pandemic was something that we understood how important also this was. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ricardo Russo. I came from Italy. I work with Deloitte. Indeed, I had a beautiful answer, but she has already said all what we have done, no? Because probably the big four are more or less the same mindset, and so we used to do similar things. For sure, our problem was not at all to work remotely. We were used. Our problem was to take care of our people. That was the first issue, the first priority. So to avoid to let them feel alone and to be connected. So we have done the same initiatives that both of you have mentioned, virtual cafe, virtual meeting. We also had some virtual e-game tournaments, all things to keep connection and to face with this unknown situation. Was also important to set up something special in terms of mental health. This is very important. We activated a service 24/7 that everybody could call and start discuss, presenting their own problems. So this was one of the main issues. The other point was also to think about those people that have been hired during the pandemic, because we have hired more than 200 people during the lockdown, during the pandemic. And for these people, was completely different, the situation. Imagine to come in the office for 1 hour, to pick up the PC, the material, and then go back at home. And to start working with what? With the screen, no? With the face, you don't know if they are tall, slow, fat. So we tried to force a lot all the activities to onboard them, to let them feel part of a family. We organized budding activities, coaching activities, focused on help them to start their career inside the company in a virtual way.
I wonder if I may just kind of add a little salt and pepper to the conversation, right? In the sense, I'm happy to hear all these wonderful initiatives that you all took, but I'm quite curious as to what had to give in terms of, you guys have got some seriously important time-sensitive projects that are happening, and suddenly a pandemic hits, and you need to rejig the whole strategy and focus on mental health, physical health, onboarding new clients, but also onboarding new staff that can't ingest the corporate culture as if they were in the office. Something's got to give, right? I mean, this is the kind of challenge that I would see as a real challenge. One thing to say, yes, we had people that might have gotten sick, or people that have mental health issues, or people are working too hard because they're online all the time. But perhaps in a few minutes of discussion, what were the real challenges beyond the challenge of physical working, or beyond the challenge of maintaining someone's mental health, or helping them maintain their mental health? And I'm talking specifically about projects, about something's got to give, in the sense that, you know, we have planned specific time, but if we're going to be investing time now into ensuring that people are mentally healthy, something's going to give. What happened?
Okay, thank you. Is it done? Okay, so our experience, I mean, more or less, there is a difference in the panel. There's the big four, and we are a very, very small company, right? So, okay. So I was saying that there's a difference. I mean, there are, you know, very big companies, and we are a very, very small one. But that doesn't mean that we don't have, let's say, as you mentioned, clients, customers, projects running. So especially we are, let's say, focusing on the retail industry, and the retail industry at that time has actually two speeds. You have groceries that were actually booming, right? And at the same time, you have fashion industry or some other, you know, luxury industry that's actually paused. And this means having these customers, right? And you have to manage their work. You need to actually rethink how you approach them, and how do you deal with the teams and the communication with them, and all that in a concept that although let's say we are a small company, we also have to manage all this communication, the remote setting. So I think that from one perspective, although, you know, this is, let's say, like an after effect, seeing the, you know, 2 years down the line, there was a huge benefit because of the COVID era, and this is that for some things, time has frozen, but has frozen from, you know, it's like, you know, everybody's frozen, but you have the opportunity to move, and this gave us a huge boost. For example, we did a huge company transformation in technologies and things like that. So we took the opportunity for, you know, any customer that has, you know, stopped at work, and we said, okay, that's fine. Teams are released. We can actually re-engage them and do something very productive. And this is what happened. And after that, you know, a year after, we managed to release a new platform that, if you tell me, you know, 2 years back, I would say that's impossible, that we need, you know, to, according with the rest of the schedule, we need to plan for the next 3 years to happen. So different things happened, and, you know, for us, it was an experience like that.
Thank you. Great comment. Thank you. That's the end of our first series of questions, or the first question at least. I finally have the questions, which is wonderful, right? So I'm going to rephrase the question just a little bit, right? And I think what Patroklos is trying to get to here is, do you believe that the IT industry is more essential to society, given the after effects of COVID, after effects of a pandemic, of a global pandemic that affected us so much? And why? Who'd like to go first?
Okay. Hello. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm Pantelis from Microsoft, as we said before. I'm also a guy that entered my company during the pandemic. So, starting meeting with a computer.
So you just met everybody, right? Like, yes. You just physically met everybody.
Yes, so something like that. Started to meet someone and he's tall or fat or etc. I think that this pandemic era did let's say, a huge transformation, a transformation of 20 years in just 1.5 years, let's say 2 years. And this is something that suddenly every company needed to have to empower their employees to work, to continue to work, and being suddenly in home and balance between kids running and working and helping them for something new from them too, working, having to have school remotely. So you get to work.
Competing for the internet connection with your children.
Exactly, exactly. So transformation in lines too.
Yeah.
I believe that this gave a huge transformation. It was a challenge. All companies did it at day one. Let's say in 1 month, you have to have 400, 1,000 employees start working from home, security, etc., hardware, whatever. Big challenge to keep working with your vendors, collaborating. You don't have office, you don't have banks, you don't have anything. Suddenly, everyone needs to transform to continue to work and operate. And I think that the most value of this was companies, like you said. You had new projects, new solutions to be able to not only continue to work, but to be able to give value to your customers. And it was, I believe, a big success for both corporate and government.
Are you saying crises are a good thing?
If you sit on this view, you can say yes, but I could say that make us realize how the value of technology.
Yes, please.
If I may add here is that what we see during the pandemic is that due to this reason, the companies, organizations, and the consumers have changed behaviors. So as a result, the organization, the companies, were enforced to speed up the digital transformation. What does it mean? That things, activities, and projects that perhaps were going to be completed or planned to be for the next 2 or 3 years, suddenly all of them had to be digital enabled within 2 or 3 months. So what we see here was a huge increase on e-commerce, on automation, like online banking, all the transactions were online. But at the same time, we saw a huge increase for the industry's part, the public sector, digitalizing everything, the healthcare, banking, so technology was all around. Nevertheless, it's not that technology is the mandatory, here in order for the organizations to be able to cope with this change. But actually, technology is an enabler that should be used for the next day. The most important is for the organizations to redefine their strategy, their purpose, their culture, the employee skills. So it's a set of things if we want to move towards, let's say, a new era.
Okay. I just have a little follow-on question, but in terms of compromises. I know of a lot of companies that had to make compromises regarding their delivery times of projects, regarding their internal security, their external security. I know of one very, very big Greek company which had to make compromises in terms of security and said, well, we need these specific standards in our office, but now that everybody's working at home, that goes out the window. We need to survive. Did you have anything like that to deal with, and how does an organization deal with that kind of an issue where there are so many layers of security that need to be in place, or layers of processes that need to be in place, but then suddenly you're thrust, your back is up against the wall, and you need to react, and you need to stay alive, you need to stay afloat, you need to keep the project on time, you need to keep the staff happy. Hard questions. I mean, any comments from anyone? Because I'm not going to accept an answer, oh, we made no compromises. I'm not going to accept.
What I would like to add here is that for the security, let's say, matters, there was not any discussion for compromises, for security.
You're saying you didn't discuss it?
We couldn't, let's say, support this kind of requests. But on the other hand, we saw that the clients wanted to have solutions that perhaps were not going to be the permanent, the permanent solutions on the architecture that they had to target to come quicker. So this was a subject to, to discuss or to figure out or to find a solution.
Okay, I'll go back to the question just so we can kind of stay on topic. So is the IT industry more essential to society, given what we've gone through?
Yeah, I think one thing that, that make us, let's say, part of the transformation and the changes and the idea of how we moved forward was that I think that with the pause, let's say, and everybody's being at home or, being able to walk outside to, let's say, a park, nature, whatever that was, I'm not sure if that made everybody rethink the model and how technology is also related to environment and society. And I think that because ESG is around the corner for the last 3 years, but now we see, especially after the pandemic, I mean, the last year, it's become one of the hot topics. It's coming up front, and I'm not sure if this whole pandemic creates some kind of a request to rebalance back what we do in terms of technology and how this should definitely give back to society and the environment. I mean, for us, part of the transformation, as I said, was exactly that sustainability now is something that is, number one, next to efficiency for what we actually, want to get with our customers. It's number one priority. I know that, of course, for companies, profit is always first, and it's fine. But then again, a few years back, if we were talking about, we're going to do this work, and we would like, to consider being, put some effort in sustainability, we would get some pushback. It might go back to the board of the directors, but now we see that this is happening, right? So for us, that was a nice movement forward.
Either someone is waving to me and saying hello, or he wants to make a question. What is it? It's a question? You want to make a question? No? Okay. Any other comments on this question from our panel?
Just a few words. Yes, okay, I agree with everything you already mentioned. It's pretty much what I also had in mind. And I also wanted to add that not only were a lot of procedures forced to go digital, but a lot of people were using new platforms and new applications that they had no idea before about what internet is. So that's why we're leading to a sustainability model. And that's what we are also trying to do at Netcompany Trasoft, to build applications for a sustainable society. So that's my small comment based on what you already mentioned.
This is important. I think that in some countries, like for example Italy or Greece, the pandemic has been, under some point of view, an advantage. Has pushed a lot and has contributed to save the gap with other countries. No? So this was important. Another consideration is that I think that in most of the companies, the way to think about the technology, the IT, has changed. In the past, recent past, it was very often just a cost. No? Now, the most of them understand that is an opportunity and an
enabler.
Exactly. But I'm 54. And very often I thought, what if this situation happened in 1990, for example? Imagine your children have been able to go at school virtually to continue their studies. In 20 years ago, 25 years ago, this was impossible. No? So indeed, the technology has permitted the society to survive and probably to do also some improvements. But I agree with you, we have to find a balance, for sure.
Speaking of balance, then I'll move to our third question. Our third question has to do with remote work. How many remote workers in the room? How many non-remote workers in the room? By choice. Okay. You guys might have heard Elon Musk's recent comments. Remote work at Tesla requires 40 hours of presence at our offices. Right? If you want to work remotely, you work here, in the office. If not, you're not going to be working here anymore. Another comment I heard recently, and I'll say it in Greek, ο Antetokounmpo δεν βάζει τρίποντο από το σπίτι. Antetokounmpo can't put a three-pointer from home. He has to be on the court. So given those two comments, the question that Patroklos has given me, is remote or hybrid work the present and the future? How do these flexible professional environments fit within the industry? And I think we'll have the standard answers I would expect we're always remote, we've been remote forever, we're a technology company, so remote is of course a given. Let's discuss it though. Given the first two comments about Atatankubo and Elon.
Okay. So, first of all, we are not used to work remote every day. We were not in that mode before the pandemic. And then we were forced to work remotely. When we did that, we also saw the benefits. In my point of view, working in the office and working at home, they both have benefits. And the greatest benefit for me is that personally I work in a great team at Netcompany Trasoft, but none of my direct colleagues is based in Thessaloniki. So maybe I would not have that opportunity because I joined the company during the COVID era, before COVID. But even though we can say that the IT sector can perform from everywhere on the planet, and that's true, of course, we can never forget the bonding that comes when you work in the office. You have the opportunity to spend quality time with your colleagues, and of course this helps the team bond quicker than the virtual calls only. So currently we are using the hybrid model, which combines the benefits from both remote working and working in the office. I'm not sure, and I cannot predict the future, but I think that since we have proven to be flexible and agile, we will be able to adapt to any new situation that comes along our way.
All right, thank you.
From my side, I would like to share some, let's say, research that Accenture did during pandemic, of course, periods regarding the hybrid working model, that I believe that the numbers are quite interesting. So what I would like to highlight here is that we did a research on 90,000 employees around 11 countries. And the outcome was that 83% of those employees stated that they believe that the hybrid model, meaning some work remote, some work on site, is more optimum and, let's say, is supporting the productivity and the health situation, the mental health of the employee. Out of this percentage, 40% of those express that they are more committed to the company, that they have the hybrid model, and they have the intention to stay more years, to work more years for this company. And another point was that there was a gap with the 8% of the colleagues that they felt that they are disconnected from the organization. The separation of this, why some of them felt disconnected, was not because they were stressed of this new situation that they had to be adapted, but they felt that they don't have the resources to be productive. And when we say resources, we mean the leadership support, we mean the maturity of the digital, let's say, environment of each organization that has, and the, let's say, the support on the mental health. Another dimension that this, let's say, report shows that 63% of the organizations that have the highest growth in their revenues, they had adapted the hybrid model. And the 69% of the organizations that they had either zero growth or negative growth, they didn't have the hybrid approach, but either only on site or only remote. As a result, for Accenture, the outcome is that it doesn't matter from where, where you will work, the physical location that you will be, but to give to all the employees all the resources to feel productive and safe.
I'm curious about how that sits with the strategy of the board, right? In terms of what we want, what the employees want, what the management wants, and what the board wants, and what the shareholder wants at the end of the day. So perhaps that's another discussion. But let's take Ricardo.
For sure, we have the same evidence. The hybrid model seems to be the one that produces better results. For sure, there is a huge difference when we speak with employees that have been hired before COVID and with employees that have been hired during the COVID. Because those that have been hired before, they experienced what it means to work together with other people, what it means to go out for a dinner, what it means to take a coffee together, have fun. No? Because especially in a consultancy firm, we work always in team. Those that started during the COVID, they never had this evidence. For them, work means just to switch on the PC, to turn on the camera, and start speaking over the microphone. No? So there is this difference. Another point is that the two models impact in a very huge way on the learning path. What we have seen is that when the training, general training, not just the classroom, the virtual classroom session, is done only virtually, the results are not exactly the same as when this training happens also in presence. In addition, we have seen that the training, the learning, is not only what you can study by yourself, but is also to observe what your colleagues do. She spoke about the leadership and so on. It's very important to have the opportunity to listen, maybe just occasionally, what and how a colleague, a more senior colleague, deal with a problem, speak with another colleague, or speak with a user, with a customer. So I guess that in the most cases, especially for companies that offer services or that work in teams, the hybrid is for sure the best solution. And going back to the question, is the future for sure. We will not never go back in 100% on-site solution, at least in company like Deloitte or Accenture and similars.
I wonder if Pandelis has some comment.
I will truly, with everyone that's spoken already, this is something that it came to stay. Okay, understand that Adetokubo cannot work remote. Okay, I'm with him. And all of the other workers that they need to operate a machine or something like that. Okay, we cannot complete this.
Well, it's a little deeper than that, in the sense that if I'm vying for a promotion, it's very difficult for me to actually show and vie for a promotion from a Zoom call. If I'm not next to my manager every
we agree
day,
that
all day.
we disagree on this.
Okay. Okay.
Because as I see it, as we work in Microsoft, and I believe the same on the other colleagues here, that working remote, it's like you said, it's not where you work, it's the work you've done. To have all the tools and all the everything that is needed. If you see the latest build announcements, Microsoft build announcements, it was all about remote working, Teams improvements, DevOps, GitHub. Every developer has everything. New Microsoft DevBox, ready to work environment for developers. So we see that from companies that create the tools, that create the software, they are announcing those kind of stuff. And as I see it as an employee, let's say in Microsoft, I see that the work I do with the tools that we have goes up to the upper management. So to answer your question, I disagree. Okay. You can work, you can take promotions, you can be known working remotely.
We can disagree. It's cool. We can disagree. We're still going to be friends. Let's take some questions from our audience then. Oh, no, let's also, yes, of course.
I think that it's all about flexibility, right? So this is what you need. I mean, for us, innovation is in our core, right? And we have seen that sometimes you need to be with other people around because some ideas spark, just as you mentioned, as you hear somebody actually talking, you said, I've seen
Absolutely,
that. It might be
absolutely.
different, right? So you need to be there. And then again, during COVID, we have, let's say, younger people in the office that, I mean, they were, fighting who's going to get the 20% allowed by the governments to be at the office, right? So because they wanted to be, with others in the office, with presence, they wanted, some other family people, having the kids at home would say, okay, I'll pass. It's fine. But then again, and I need to say it, remote, I mean, especially because most of you, I mean, you're in the IT industry, remote is not about, me having a picture of my laptop and then eternal blue. I mean, because...
Of course it is.
It is fictionism, right? I mean, would you expect, a real developer to be working out in the sunshine and the sunlight?
No. He needs to be working in a box.
Exactly.
He needs to be in a box, no
Usually
windows.
he's going to be, down in a bunker or something like that, in the dark. So, I mean, we need to see what remote means. And, of course, there's a huge meaning around that. It helps, families, helps your personal life balance. But we need to be realistic around that. Yes, flexibility is here, it's going to stay, and it's going to evolve, right? So it's fine.
Well, I think we've taken 40 minutes of your lives, and I hope it's been useful. But I'm happy to take any final questions in case you want to have a brief... there we are. We have someone in the back over there. Do you want to stand up and shout really loudly? Because I... Wait. I can come there. I can come there. This is remote work now. Remotely.
Hello. So I have a question from an employee perspective. I would like to ask how, if we take for a standard that the work of an employee is the same, disregarding the place his physical location, how does the company bonds the employee to stay in that company? If we say that our role and what job we do doesn't have a face, if we do it all remotely. I'm not saying it as a bad thing, I'm saying just how is a company supposed to keep their employees if they're more faceless, let's say?
Who's going to take that tough question? I think we're both handing you the microphone. Hold on. Who's going to take it?
Okay, firstly we say, yes, doesn't matter the physical location, and we say we promote hybrid working approach. What does it mean hybrid? Hybrid means that the employees can work from 25 to 75% remotely from anywhere that they wish. So they will have a physical communication, they will have a physical, let's say, relationship with other colleagues, but will not be occupied 100%. So this is one part that is very important. So the relationship part will be able to be, let's say, managed through this period that the employee will be physically.
Yes.
I will continue. Okay. Not repeating myself. Okay, so this percentage allows to have remote work in order for the employee to feel productive, and also will allow to have a percentage of physical work that will allow the employee to have the relationship part with the organization. This is one component. The other component is that we need to focus on pillars like modernizing the HR. Modernizing HR meaning that I am there for my employees, I'm giving the tools, I'm supporting them in order to feel engaged. And there are ways for that. There are processes, there are initiatives that HR owes to do. A second important pillar in order to embrace this hybrid work and for the employee to feel connected is also the maturity of the digital technologies in the organization. So having an organization, digital tools will make the employee part of this, let's say, community.
I wonder if I may just take that and pass it back to the audience. Do we feel as remote workers working from home or hybrid workers sometimes working from home that we are fully equipped to do so at home? And is the same level of investment happening in our home workplace or our hybrid workplace, home workplace, versus our past tense? Yes, no. Raise your hands if it's yes. There's good enough investment in our equipment, in our home office. Good. Okay, it's 50-50, I think. No? Not very many brave people. And don't care? A few people, yeah, one or two, alrighty. Yeah, all right.
And another important pillar that I would like to add is how important the leadership of the organization to support this. This was one of your points also when we discussed before, because it's very important the leadership when this physical percentage will take place for the employee to be there, to work all together. And there they will have the example to follow, they will feel comfortable with leadership, and they will feel that they share the same purpose. For us, for Accenture, to share and to have a specific purpose for the organization and for the employee is very, very important.
Folks, thank you so much for that very interesting panel. I think we're probably going to be seeing more remote, more hybrid in future rather than less, at least in our industry here. That can't be too terrible a thing, I expect. Let's see how society or how the environment treats us when we do that. Okay, so wonderful. Thank you so much. Everybody, please, a wonderful round of applause for our esteemed audience. Thank you so much.